Well, we have developed a protocol for assessing behaviors in children with autism. And basically, the kids come out into two broad areas, and sometimes it's a mixture of the two. Some of the children we see we would call wandering. They haven't learned the skills of knowing that you're supposed to stay close to mom or dad, walk next to them, not walk off on your own and just wander off, or stop and look at things and not notice that mom or dad has kept going and turned around the corner and are now out of sight. Typically, developing children have what we call stranger anxiety, and it seems to be have a biological basis, and they learn to stick very close to mom and dad, especially at a very young age. Kids with autism are much less likely to show that sort of thing, and so we see this wandering behavior more often in young children with autism than in typically developing kids. So that's one group, is what we call the wanderers. And then there's another group of kids that kind of bolt or elope, and these are children who typically do it for a reason. There's a goal. Sometimes that is when we try to get them to do tasks that they don't like doing, they run away from us. Other kids, when we're not providing attention, they run away to see if we will react to their running. And other kids will run to gain access to what we call tangible items. And sometimes that is just running to get to the playground, like typically kids would do, but doing it more intently, oftentimes not watching, not when they cross the street, could run in front of a car. And then also we sometimes see kids bolting for tangible items that are kind of unusual. That the children with autism often have unusual interests. And so we may have a child with autism who is bolting to pick up an unusual looking rock, or to go to the elevator and press and stim on the buttons. We had one little guy that would go to the soda machine, and big, fancy colored lights behind it, and he'd go and tap on it and look at it and listen to it and engage in self-stimulatory behavior on that particular object. But that was when he ran away to that. And so we've developed a set of procedures for looking at the kids, starting with a descriptive assessment, where we have them walk along a prescribed route, and sometimes we bait the prescribed route with things that might tempt a child to run away to get to. Sometimes we give them demands to see if, while we're walking with them, if we're telling them to do things, tuck in your shirt, comb your hair, are they more likely to bolt to get away from those tasks we're asking them to do. And so we've developed this set of walks that help us to determine, are these children just wandering and don't know when they should stop with us or walk with us. And then we have a set of treatments that are matched to the function or the purpose of the child's elopement or wandering or bolting. The treatment that we prescribe then is a very skill acquisition based treatment to teach the child that they need to stay within arm's length of the adult they're walking with, and we have specific procedures for doing that training. If the child tends to be a bolter, then we do a functional analysis to understand why they're bolting, what they're bolting to get, what is the goal or outcome that is reinforcing the behavior, and then we develop a specific intervention to address that function or that purpose.
I would imagine, though, that the assessment that you do, those directed walks, are things that are a controlled environment and really need to be done by professionals. Is that true?
Yes, and that's where we're at right now, and we start with that. We develop the treatment. We teach the child when it's safe to go and do things, when it's safe to move away from the adult. And then we train the parents to implement the procedures. And over time, we want to get so the child's elopement is under appropriate, what we would call stimulus control. They're doing it at the right time when they have signals to tell them it's safe to move away from mom or dad, but when it's not, that they need to stay close by. For example, one of the first children that we worked with bolted whenever she saw a dog. She just loved dogs. And her training went so that gradually we would expose her to different things that she would run away for, and the dog was the kind of final test case where she would have to walk about a quarter of a mile, walk right by a dog, go back to her starting point, and then we would say to the signal, now it's safe to go and see the dog. And we arranged so that that would occur in a safe location, inside a fence, and make sure it's a safe dog to be around. But to teach them that, yes, sometimes it's okay to run and go see a dog, and sometimes it's not, and here's when it is appropriate, and here's when it's not appropriate, and teach those skills, and then teach the parents to be able to implement that protocol.
We hear a lot from parents who give up. They feel like they're never going to be able to stop a child from eloping, and we always like to give them with hope. What kind of success do you have?
Sure. We recently pulled together the data from about a dozen cases, and the average reduction in elopement was about 95%. In all cases, we were able to reduce elopement by at least 85%. So in the vast majority of cases, we can greatly reduce this. In some cases, reduce it to zero, but in the most cases, reduce it to a great deal and make it much more manageable for parents.